Hey guys, welcome back. We are reading John chapter 9. I'm gonna switch it up today. We're gonna switch to the Amplified Bible because it's one of my personal favorites. The Amplified Bible I actually have is the Joyce Meyer Amplified Bible, the Everyday Life Bible. I'm not a huge fan of her anymore, but she did introduce me to the Amplified Bible. I didn't even know that translation existed before I had watched some of her teachings and watched some of her sermons, conferences, whatever. She doesn't get it right in every aspect, but no preacher does. Everybody gets something wrong. We're human beings. We're gonna make mistakes. But she's not somebody I watch. But hey, if you enjoy her and you watch her teachings and her sermons, or you read her books and you get something out of it and it's bearing good fruit, go for it. Let's go ahead and get into John chapter 9. While he was passing by, he noticed a man who had been blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi," or teacher, "who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed and illustrated in him. We must work the works of him who sent me, while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world, giving guidance through my word and my works." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with his saliva, and he spread the mud like an ointment on the man's eyes. And he said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which is translated sent. So he went away and washed, and came back seeing. So the neighbors and those who used to know him as a beggar said, "Is not this the man who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is he." Still others said, "No, but he looks like him." But he kept saying, "I am the man." So they said to him, "How were your eyes opened?" He replied, "The man called Jesus made mud and smeared it on my eyes and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went and washed and received my sight." They asked him, "Where is he?" And he said, "I don't know." They brought the man who was formerly blind to the Pharisees. Now it was on a Sabbath day that Jesus made the mud and opened the man's eyes. So the Pharisees asked him again how he received his sight. And he said to them, "He smeared mud on my eyes, and I washed, and now I see." Then some of the Pharisees said, "This man," in regards to Jesus, "is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a man who is a sinner, a non-observant Jew, do such things and miracles?" So there was a difference of opinion among them. Accordingly, they said to the blind man again, "What do you say about him, since he opened your eyes?" And he said, "It must be that he is a prophet." However, the Jews did not believe that he had been blind and received his sight until they called the man's parents. They asked him, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? Then how does he now see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son, and he was born blind. But as to how he now sees, we do not know, or who has opened his eyes, we do not know. Ask him, and stop asking us, for he is of age. He will speak for himself and give his own account of it." His parents said this because they were afraid of the leaders of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone acknowledged Jesus to be the Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue or excommunicated. Because of this, his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So a second time they called the man who had been born blind and said to him, "Give glory to God and praise for your sight. We know this man," Jesus, "is a sinner or separated from God." Then he answered, "I do not know whether he is a sinner, but one thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." So they said to him, "What did he actually do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered, "I already told you, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again and again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" And at that remark they stormed at him and jeered, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know for certain that God has spoken to Moses. But as for this man, we do not know where he is from." The man replied, "Well, this is astonishing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know, according to your tradition, that God does not hear sinners. But if anyone fears God and does his will, he hears him. Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything like this, because God would not hear his prayer. They answered him, You were born entirely in sins, from head to foot, and you presume to teach us. Then they threw him out of the synagogue. Jesus heard that they had put him out of the synagogue, and finding him, he asked, Do you believe in the Son of Man? He answered, Who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him. Jesus said to him, You have both seen him, and in fact he is the one who is talking with you. And he said, Lord, I believe in you and your word. And he worshipped him with reverence and awe. Then Jesus said, I came into this world for judgment, to separate those who believe in me from those who reject me, to declare judgment on those who choose to be separated from God, so that the sightless would see, and those who see would become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard these things and said to him, Are we also blind? Jesus said to them, If you were blind to spiritual things, you would have no sin and would not be blamed for your unbelief. But since you claim to have spiritual sight, you have no excuse, so your sin and guilt remain. That was chapter 9, and my back is killing me. That's why I kind of keep doing this number. The chair I'm sitting in is a little uncomfortable. But yeah, it's so interesting to me that back then, and maybe even still today, in some, I don't know, religions or sects or whatever, that people would believe that somebody who was born blind would have been affected because of the sins in their parents' life or in their life or in their grandparents' life, something like that. Like that blows my mind. I wouldn't have the audacity to say that to somebody who was born blind or born with any other infirmity. I wouldn't walk up to him and say, Oh, who sinned in your life to make you like this? That's insane. This is a beautiful story proving that sometimes things happen in our lives or our friends' lives that we can't explain or we don't understand. And it happens so that God can show his glory and his mercy and his grace through it. I personally can attest. I couldn't imagine how my life would be different if, when my dad got sick, he got sick in 2005, with cancer. I don't know how my life would be today if, one, he had died and hadn't survived his treatments and survived surgery and everything, or two, if he'd never gotten sick at all. But I know this much. I know that my father's testimony is incredibly inspiring, not just to me, but to several other people I've talked to, because despite the horrific, catastrophic surgery he had, my dad had cancer in his neck, and he breathes through a stoma in his neck. It's actually lower than most people's. It's like right here. Most people breathe when they have a stoma up here. But he lost his larynx, his pharynx, everything here, voice box. They had to carve part of the bone down. He lost some musculature. He doesn't have a thyroid, parathyroids. There's a lot that was taken out. His doctor actually told him after surgery, well, I'm very surprised that you survived what I put you through. So that's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. Can you imagine hearing that from your surgeon? Hey, I didn't kill you. It's great. But my dad had a super, super rare cancer, and we'll do an episode where he and I will talk about that in the future. But I can't imagine how my life would be different today if he weren't how he was now. It would be easier if he had never gotten sick or if he had been supernaturally healed. Absolutely. But I don't know if I would be where I am physically or spiritually, because his testimony has done a lot for me too. Not to say life wasn't difficult growing up after that. I was 11 when he got sick. So it was a mess at home because I was, just going through the throes of puberty, fun times, while he was recovering from massive traumatic surgery. Um, so yeah, it was interesting. But it's good to know that the crazy things that happen in our lives, whether you're born with a deformity or a disability or, you know, whatever the case may be, um, that God can use that as an opportunity to show his grace and his mercy and to show his works, even if it's not healing you, even if it's using your testimony to bring peace, comfort, and light to someone else's life. You know, it's pretty amazing to know that and to really have that confirmed in the word. I also love that the man who was, his blindness was cured, had to tell his story multiple times and then finally told the Pharisees, why do you want me to continue telling you this over and over again? Like, it's simple. He put mud on my eyes, I washed it off, and then I could see. Um, could you imagine having to tell somebody 3 or 4 times something simple like that? And I'm sure everybody has been in a point in their life where they've had to do that. I can think of a few times in my life where I've had to repeat myself like that. It's definitely a test of patience. And that's something else. Like, be careful what you pray for. If you pray to God, God, please grant me patience, he's probably not going to just endow you with patience. He's going to give you ample opportunity to be patient. Same with strength, with courage, with ambition. He's going to give you opportunities to do those things because he's given us what we need to complete or accomplish all things. It's really good to have that affirmed. And it's a beautiful story. It's really simple. And of course, again, it's another miracle on the Sabbath, which I personally believe we should still honor the Sabbath. We should take one day to rest and not necessarily like not do anything. I'm not saying just go bed rot for a whole day, but disconnect from your phone. Like, turn this off or put it on do not disturb. Limit who can contact you through your phone. Limit your connection to your phone. Disable your social media apps for a day or set a timer where you can only use them for a certain amount of time. Go outside and do something with your friends or your family. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. You can go sit on your porch and have a cup of coffee or go take a walk through a park. Be and connect with somebody, not work, but communion, fellowship, that kind of thing. Like, that is really truly what we as a society need to get back to. We need to allow ourselves that time to disconnect, reset our minds, enjoy a hobby or enjoy company of a loved one, or just rest. It's okay if you really just want to lay around and do nothing. That's okay. As long as it's not detrimental to your household or your health. But yeah, we don't rest enough in society. The society is too fast paced. It's too demanding. The struggle and the hustle and the grind is over glorified so much. I'm getting off on a rant. Let me end it here before I go too crazy with all this. Chapter 10 is tomorrow, so we're hitting double digits. We're making really good time, really good pace. And in the meantime and in between time, you guys stay blessed, stay bold. I'll see you in the next one.